Okay, guys, I promise, this is the last one. Over the last month, it has taken me not one, not two, but 3 What If episodes to finish the story for What If Scarlet beat Ruby in the duel for the throne. And guys, this is it. 3 What Ifs in 1 month is too many. Invincible, Winter's dismayed voice echoed, and Keebly shushed him harshly. The 5 of them, well, 6 with Cliff, were gathered in the stands around the arena. It was dark, the area was nearly abandoned, and Peril and Moon were sharing the good news. "He was showing off when we found him," Moon said. "I heard him. He was thinking about how clever he was to enchant his Nightwing body to be invulnerable and strong." "I also saw it," Peril put in, unwilling to be left out of the conversation. "He literally stabbed himself right in front of me. It didn't take a mind reader to figure out what that means." Keebly frowned. "What about the scroll?" he asked. Moon sighed. "He carries it with him," she said, "in a pouch around his neck. I got the impression he's pretty possessive of it." "Well, that makes sense," Turtle said. "Without it, he'd be in trouble." "That's going to make stealing it impossible," Winter hissed. "If none of us can realistically fight him to get it, and if it's always with him, how can we get it away from him?" "Maybe if we attack Scarlet without him around?" Turtle asked. "Scarlet always wears a ton of jewelry and armor," Peril said. "The only time I ever saw her without it was when Byrne captured her. There's no way to be sure she isn't wearing a talisman." "So we could have 2 invincible dragons," Winter demanded. "I don't think so," Moon interrupted. "In Chameleon's thoughts, I heard him say he was glad he was the only invincible dragon around. He was thinking that it made him special, something only he could do and nobody else, instead of the other way around." "Huh," Keebly said. "You think he didn't give Scarlet any protection?" "Well," Moon said thoughtfully, "he was the one who stopped Glory, right? According to Clay and Tsunami?" "I don't know," Turtle said. "I think he said he attacked her, but how did he find her? Had she already attacked Scarlet and failed? Or did Chameleon somehow catch her before she could attack?" Oh, that was a good point, Peril thought. They didn't know how Glory had been found out, just that Chameleon had killed her. Surely Glory wouldn't have revealed herself until she'd already aimed venom at the Queen, though, right? So how had Chameleon stopped her? "If Scarlet's not enchanted, then once Chameleon's out of the way, we can stop her," Keebly said. "If we know Chameleon's some kind of, I don't know, animus bodyguard, and we take away his power, Peril could just kill her," he said. "That's true," Peril said. "I would like to kill her." "So we need to know how they caught Glory," Winter said. Keebly turned to look at the arena. "Which means we need to talk to Deathbringer," he said. Sneaking into the dungeons turned out to be easier than Peril expected. She, Keebly, and Moon worked together. They'd been elected for guide skills, brain skills, and mind-reading skills, respectively. Peril had expected they might have to talk to some guards, maybe trick them into letting them inside or something, but it seemed like Scarlet was left a little short-handed, seeing as she'd apparently decided to execute dozens of her own soldiers, and needed the remainder to guard them from sympathetic friends and family. The actual dungeons were mostly empty and nearly unguarded. After all, who would rescue the lone Nightwing prisoner? There were 4 guards, 2 at the entrance and 2 more patrolling, according to Moon, who could hear all 4. However, the entrance was large, and the 2 Skywings assigned to it clearly didn't think they had anything to worry about. One was actually asleep, and the other kept getting distracted by an owl who'd taken up calling from a nearby pillar. "He's going to go try to catch that owl," Moon whispered. The 3 of them were crouched behind a low retaining wall, watching the pair of guards. "When he goes, we can slip in. The other guard is asleep and dreaming." "Nice," Keebly said. Then, "If these guards were sandwings, Thorn would knock them tail over wings for being this unobservant," he said. "Good for us we aren't in the Sand Kingdom, then," Peril snipped. "Now," Moon interrupted them, as the Skywing guard began sidling closer to the bird, attention focused solely on his prey. The 3 of them trotted swiftly for the wide entrance, careful to be silent. Peril jumped a little when the guard lunged for the owl, and in a flurry of shouting and feathers lost him. But by the time he turned around, growling, they were already inside. The Skywing dungeons were large and slightly abandoned. During the war, they'd mostly used the spires, reserving the dungeons for the rare Skywing offenders. Now it was the opposite. The only prisoner inside was Deathbringer. "He's asleep," Moon warned as they came upon the cell. They'd been walking through the halls and checking the empty cells, avoiding the echoing steps of the slowly moving inner patrol. "I'll warn you if the patrol gets close," she said, pausing at the mouth of the hall they were in. Lit imperfectly by sparse, flickering torches, Deathbringer's cell was cast mostly in shadow. The Nightwing assassin was curled inside, banded wings flung out as far as possible in a boneless sprawl. Up close, it was easier to see the marks of the several fights he'd won in the arena. Thin gashes and ragged tears in his wings, some older and some newer. He must be a good fighter, Peril thought to herself. By now he should be more injured, especially as often as Scarlet has him fighting. "Hey," Keeley hissed, rapping on the bars. "Deathbringer." The Nightwing woke with the slightest start. He didn't move, but his eyes glittered as they shot open to glare at them. He started growling, a low rumble in his throat, and Keeley shushed him with a hiss. "It's Keeley and Peril," he said, pulling the gold bracelet Turtle had enchanted off. Deathbringer did flinch when Keeley melted from a skywing into a pale, skinny sandwing. "Keeley?" he asked, voice hoarse. "And Peril," Peril added, feeling the need to make herself known. Her strange, deep voice sounded wrong in her ears. Keeley slipped the bracelet back on, scales deepening again. "We're here to kill Scarlet," he said, "and we need information." Deathbringer growled. "Get me out of here," he said, "and I'll do it for you." "We can't," Keeley winced. "Someone will notice you're missing and it'll give us away." They talked about it earlier and decided it was too risky. If all went well, they would rescue Deathbringer in a few days anyways. Deathbringer sat up a little straighter, tail beginning to lash. "We need to know what happened when Glory attacked Scarlet," Peril broke in. "Quickly, before the guards come back." "Specifically, how did they catch her?" Keeley asked urgently. "Did she attack Scarlet first, or did someone see her?" Deathbringer looked at them for a minute, expression torn. Then he exhaled and started talking, voice low. "We knew she was somewhere near the palace," he said, "so we were hiding and watching, trying to decide how to find her before she found Scarlet. Scarlet and that Nightwing, the Animus, they were on a balcony outside. I could see them, but not Glory. I didn't even realize how close she was," he said. "Then suddenly the Nightwing twists like he sees something, even though there's nothing there. He leapt into the air and tackled nothing, but then Glory appeared," he said sadly. "She must have been surprised because she lost her disguise and was bright red by the time they hit the ground," he continued. "He pinned her too easily. She's strong enough that she should have been able to escape. By then we were moving, but so were the guards. She spit acid at one and he started screaming, but then when she hit the Nightwing, nothing." "He's invulnerable," Keeley volunteered, part of his enchanted disguise. "What about Scarlet?" Peril asked. "Did she get hit?" "No," Deathbringer scowled. "She was screaming and trying to get away." "Coward," he spat. Peril huffed. If there was one thing Scarlet was truly scared of these days, it was Glory's venom. That didn't surprise her. "That's good," Keeley said. "If Scarlet reacted like that, she must not—" "Keeley," Moon's urgent whisper interrupted the sandwing. "Guards coming. We have to go." "Be safe," Keeley said hurriedly to Deathbringer. "We'll be back for you, I promise." "Now," Moon hissed. Peril was already heading for the Nightwing, and Keeley spun to follow. When Peril looked back, Deathbringer had gone limp on the floor again, seemingly in a deep sleep. The others took the news that Scarlet was likely not invincible, at least based on her reaction to Glory's attack, with excitement. Especially Cliff, who'd been devastated at the idea he might not get the chance to feed his grandmother to alligators. "We still need a way to steal the scroll from Chameleon," Winter pointed out dourly, "who is invincible and very vindictive." "Okay, Killjoy," Keeley said, rolling his eyes. "You seem to have forgotten you're talking to a professional ex-criminal." "Really," Winter said. "That's what you want to call it?" "What?" Turtle interrupted. Keeley winked, very charmingly for someone who'd just called himself a criminal. "There isn't a dragon alive I can't pickpocket," he said. "What?" Turtle interrupted, louder. "You didn't think the outlaws were totally upstanding citizens, did you?" Keeley grinned. "Also, I wasn't always friends with Thorn," he added. "My mom taught me how to steal when I was a dragonette." "I don't think that's as cool as you seem to think it is," Turtle said, sounding concerned. Well, it is when we need to steal something, Keebley said, raising an excellent point in Peril's opinion. I can do it, Keebley said. They'd found Chameleon again this morning, trying to learn his habits. I got a good look. I can take the scroll. Not the jewelry he's wearing, it's mostly necklaces and earrings, which would be difficult. So he'll still have whatever he's wearing. And if I take too much, he'll notice too fast. But if I take just the scroll, with a bit of luck, we'll have a moment before he realizes it's missing. Then we'd better figure out what we're going to do now, Moon said. Two days later, they were ready to put their plan into action. They'd spent their time subtly watching and listening to Chameleon, learning his habits. He liked the upper spires, spent his time drifting between the Queen and the buffet halls. Luckily, he wasn't with Scarlet all the time, so they'd waited for him to show face in a relatively crowded courtyard without the Queen around. It was too early to risk getting her attention. Peril glanced at Winter across the busy, open space. He was hovering near a set of mosaic-tiled murals, eyes fixed on Chameleon as he drifted through the space, talking to one of the guards near him. When Moon flared her wings from her seat on the edge of the crowd, Winter and Peril moved forward, seemingly random paths, putting them on a crash course for Chameleon. Meanwhile, Keebley would be wending through the crowd, heading with the same direction. Peril couldn't even pick him out, and she was looking for him. Winter stumbled into her, tangling his wings with hers, and Peril flared angrily, tail lashing as she shouted at him. "Hey," Peril snarled. "Watch it, fat wings." Winter spun, hissing. "Me watch it?" he demanded. "You're the one who bumped into me." He flung a wing out, bashing into Peril. "Hey!" she shouted, and pounced, gleefully turning their distraction into an actual wrestling match. Dragons began turning to glare at them as they fought, Peril moving so her back was to her father, who'd stopped to sneer at them. Winter turned and lunged, pushing Peril directly into Chameleon, who shouted and flung out his wings, smacking Peril in the head. "Hey," one of the guards shouted, wading into the crowd. "Knock it off, you two." Peril scrambled to her feet, shaking out her wings and shooting one last hiss at Winter. "As long as she stays away from me," Winter snapped, tail lashing angrily. "Clear out," the guard growled, wings flaring, and they did because their distraction had run its course. Hopefully, Keebley had made good use of it. Peril moved quickly through the crowd, heading away from Chameleon and hoping everyone would forget about her and Winter now that they'd done their job. She didn't jump when Turtle tapped her on the shoulder. "Come on," he said. "Moon says we're good." Chameleon didn't notice. "So, what do we do now?" Turtle asked. The six of them were sitting in a circle, staring at the scroll they'd stolen. They'd flown down the mountain a ways, leaving the palace so they could plan in safety. "We kill Scarlet and get on with our lives?" Winter shrugged. Peril could get on board with that plan. She wanted to kill Scarlet. Moon shuffled her talons. "And then what?" she asked. "Who leads the Skywings?" "Me," Cliff crowed from his spot. Peril sighed. "You still can't be queen, buddy," she said. Cliff puffed smoke at her in a very pouty manner for a prince, and she ignored him. "Does it matter?" Turtle asked. "There are some other princes," he said. "Some of them could lead until there's another heir. Or the Skywings could elect a new queen," he shrugged. Peril winced. "I don't know if that'll work," she said. Moon frowned. "We can't just kill their queen and then leave," she said. "It'll start a civil war. And what about Deathbringer and Cliff? We can't rescue Deathbringer if we start something like that, and Cliff's too young to take care of himself." The dragonette in question puffed up in righteous indignation at that slight. "So what, we just leave Scarlet on the throne?" Winter asked incredulously. "You can't be suggesting that." "Well," Moon stuttered, "no, Wait," Peril said suddenly, an idea dawning on her. "What if we did have another Skywing heir?" Everyone stopped arguing, turning to look at her. "Well, that'd be convenient," Turtle squinted at her. "Is there?" "Well," Peril said, "it's just something Ruby said. She had a sister named Tourmaline who disappeared around when I hatched." "Disappeared?" Turtle asked. "Supposedly," Peril shrugged. "Anyways, nobody knows she's dead or alive. Nobody knows anything about her at all." It dawned on Keebley first. "Disappeared," he said. "Maybe like Hailstorm disappeared?" Winter's eyes widened. It wouldn't be the first time Scarlet found a way to keep someone important alive while keeping them from being a threat, Moon said, tone considering. If it worked once, why not try it again? Keebley asked. So what, we try to find this tourmaline? Winter asked. No, Peril shook her head. For all we know, Scarlet did kill her. I'm thinking... She paused. If nobody knows Tourmaline is dead, she could be alive, Peril said. We need an heir. We need to get rid of Scarlet. And we have a scroll we can use to change anyone's identity. Keebley tilted his head inquisitively. You want to turn Scarlet into Tourmaline? He asked. Peril shook her head slowly, still thinking. Not exactly, she said. What do we tell the Skywings? How do we explain Scarlet disappearing when Tourmaline comes back after years and years? No, she shook her head. We need Tourmaline to come back and publicly challenge her mother to the throne. And win. Keebley's eyes widened as he got it. You're a genius, he said. We enchant Chameleon. What? Turtle asked, sounding confused. Keebley started pacing. We enchant something for Chameleon, he said, voice considering. To turn him into Tourmaline. Forever. Like he did to Hailstorm, only he won't have anyone coming to take the jewelry off. Winter growled. It would be poetic justice, I guess, for him to suffer the same fate as my brother, he said. That gets rid of Scarlet and buys the kingdom time for more heirs. Plus, it gets rid of Chameleon, and who knows what kind of trouble he'd cause next. And, from what Ruby said, Tourmaline would have made a great queen, Peril said. She would take care of Cliff. How are we going to do this? Moon asked. We have to get it right the first time, and we have to act before Chameleon realizes his scroll is missing, if he hasn't already. That's right, Keebley said, sitting down again to peer at the scroll. We need to think this through. An hour later, they were back at the Sky Palace. Good luck. Keebley bumped wings with Moon as they split up. Peril didn't envy him and Winter their jobs. They were going to find Scarlet and tell her that Chameleon had sent them to tell her they had a problem. Let's go, Peril said, shouldering into Moon to push her in the right direction. Turtle and Cliff waved before heading to their positions. It didn't take long for Moon to find Chameleon's thoughts. They'd been learning his favorite spots to spend time, and it only took a few tries for them to find him. He hasn't noticed it's missing yet, Moon said as they flew. Not a hint of panic. Peril nodded, fingering the new necklace she was wearing. It wouldn't work on her. That had been part of the enchantment. When they found Chameleon, he was sitting in a hall eating dinner with a small group of important-looking Skywings around a wide table. Peril put on her best impression of a palace guard and stopped behind him, clearing her throat. Chameleon grunted as he turned around. Excuse me, sir, Peril said. The Queen has requested your presence. Chameleon narrowed his eyes at the two of them, and for a minute, Peril wondered if they'd made a mistake. If Chameleon had just walked out of a meeting with Scarlet or something, or... All right, Chameleon sighed. I'll be back, he said to his companions with a lazy wave. Peril and Moon turned, leading Chameleon through the halls, matching his meandering pace. Peril wanted to growl at him to hurry up, but a guard wouldn't do that, so she bit her tongue. They took off from a balcony, swooping down toward the mountainside for a more secluded outcropping of stone looking over the valley. As they landed, Peril made sure to position herself to Chameleon's back. Making eye contact with Moon, she nodded. Peril took the necklace off, clutching it in her talons and praying she wouldn't miss. Where's the Queen? Chameleon demanded, stomping a foot. I'm a busy dragon, you know. Oh, there she is, Moon said, pointing back at the palace. As Chameleon leaned forward, squinting, Peril lunged, claws slipping the necklace over his head. The huge Nightwing twisted, teeth snapping for her ear, but he reacted too slowly, and the necklace fell to a rest amidst the others around his thick neck. Peril and Moon froze, watching the Nightwing. What? Chameleon stuttered, as all of his jewelry, sans the necklace, dissolved into ash, falling from his scales in a tiny cloud. He shrunk suddenly, shortening and thinning into a pale green rainwing. What? He shouted. Before he could rip the necklace off, it wriggled unnaturally, sinking into his pale green scales. Chameleon's wide eyes turned amber, his horns grew and twisted inwards, and his pale green scales darkened to a burnt orange shade. The only sign she'd ever worn any jewelry was the pale yellow gold band of scales ringing the base of her neck. That necklace is never coming off, Peril thought with satisfaction. What? The Skywing's head swung around as she looked at them in confusion. Where am I? I was just... Your Highness, Moon cut in, tone urgent. We just rescued you, she said, from Scarlet. Scarlet? Tourmaline said, voice dazed. She imprisoned you, Peril said, with animus magic. You've been gone for years, she said. Tourmaline's eyes widened, then went angry. Before she could say anything else, though, Scarlet's voice echoed over the rocks. What is this? She demanded, appearing in the sky. Her huge wings cast shadows over Peril and Moon. Chameleon, she bellowed. Mother, Tourmaline hissed. She just killed your sister Ruby, Peril hissed. Ruby? Tourmaline asked. Peril squinted. Your sister, she said. I don't have a sister named Ruby, Tourmaline said. Peril blinked. She was new, Moon blurted. You hadn't met her. But she was a great queen, and Scarlet killed her, and things have been terrible ever since. Tourmaline refocused on her mother as she thumped to the ground menacingly in front of her. Are they now? Tourmaline said thoughtfully, looking at her mother and flexing her claws. That's our cue to go, Peril thought, backing away from the two royals as they glared at each other. Chameleon, now Tourmaline, was enchanted to attack and kill Scarlet. She'd win. And it wouldn't be long before someone noticed. Soon all the Skywings would be watching a perfectly legitimate, if unexpected, duel for the throne, and Scarlet would lose, this time. Moon slipped away on the other side of them, and Peril followed suit, gliding away before circling back to where she could see Winter and Keebly hovering. Let's go, Keebly said as Tourmaline lunged for Ruby, claws grasping. I think they've got this. They passed Turtle and Cliff as they flew back to the palace. Keebly waved at him grinning, and Turtle flared a wing in response. Hey, Peril heard him yell as they flew past. Look, Scarlet's fighting somebody. The distraction was immediate and apparent. Heads turned, first slowly, then faster and faster, as the Skywings in the area swooped down to watch the fight and realize who Scarlet was fighting. When they got to the dungeons, Keebly landed with a scramble next to the guards by the door. Princess Tourmaline is back, he shouted. She's fighting Scarlet for the throne. And winning, Peril added. What? One of the guards demanded, jumping to his feet. Down by the waterfall, Keebly said, and the guards looked at each other. I'm not missing this, the second guard said, and took off, shooting away. Hey, the other guard bellowed. Wait for me. Keebly winked at Moon as the four of them found themselves at an empty doorway, then held up a key he definitely had not had a minute ago. How do you know that's even the right key? Moon demanded as they started walking inside. Keebly shrugged. Only one prisoner right now. Why wouldn't it be? It could be for their secret stash of cheese, Peril offered thoughtfully. Winter scoffed, and they moved through the halls at a quick pace. Deathbringer was awake when they got to his cell and glaring at them. It's us again, Keebly said, waving a talon. Deathbringer squinted for a moment before recognition dawned in his dark eyes. What's going on? Deathbringer demanded. Did you kill Scarlet? Peril grinned. Not yet, but I'd imagine any minute now. The lock clicked as Keebly opened the door, and Deathbringer darted out, pinned wings flaring. 1 minute, Keebly said, and unlocked the bands around his wings next. Deathbringer shook out his wings when he was free, dried blood and sand flaking off his scales. What about that animus Nightwing? He growled, claws flexing angrily. Oh, he's gone, Peril said breezily. Like, forever. They met Turtle as they left the Sky Palace. Cliff's good? Moon checked as he flew for them. Turtle nodded. He's with one of his uncles, who is very surprised to see him, Turtle confirmed. Tourmaline's winning, and she's making a spectacle of it, he added. That's our sign to leave, Keebly said. I think we can say our job here is done. Thank the moons, Peril said, unclipping the earring and hurling it, relishing the feeling of her scales regaining their brilliant orange hue and radiating heat. Hey, Turtle yelped as the earring sailed down out of sight. That was animus touched. Peril shrugged. They were flying south, unsure where they were going, but trying to put some distance between themselves and the Sky Kingdom, when another group of shapes appeared on the horizon. Huh, Keebly said, squinting. I wonder who that is. Peril's eyes were better, and she could make out the newcomers a little bit. It looks like, she muttered under her breath, counting the incoming dragons. Uh-oh, she said. Uh-oh, Turtle demanded, right as the voice boomed from the distance. Turtle? Tsunami's voice echoed over the sky, and Turtle's eyes widened comically. The Dragonettes of Destiny and Fate Speaker rapidly gained definition as they got closer, and they didn't look pleased. So when we said don't run off without telling us first, Tsunami bellowed, when did you here do it again anyways? We left a note, Keebly said, holding up his talons. Tsunami swung her head around to glare at him, too. Gone to kill Scarlet, BRB? Fate Speaker asked. Really? Winter slapped a talon over his forehead. Deathbringer? Clay asked, noticing their companion. What happened? Sunny demanded. Keebly grinned. Let's just say Scarlet's not going to be a problem anymore. Ha! Oh, finally, I'm done with this what if. So yeah, in the end, they never wake up Darkstalker, which I didn't expect because I thought it was going to end up being Darkstalker versus Scarlet. I had a whole art planned out for it too, but I also didn't expect Glory to die, and I also didn't expect this to be a 25-page three-parter, so, there were trade-offs. Sometimes I write things in these what-ifs that don't exactly make sense. Like, maybe Keebly pickpocketing Chameleon is a bit of a stretch, or the guards just helpfully wandering off, but I have to work with the characters and setup I have, and I still want the story to be interesting and fun to listen to, so sometimes I stretch things or play with details to work for the story that I want to tell. Because especially in a story like this with animus magic involved, it's really hard to write something that's realistic and interesting. Like, yeah, I know it would have been more realistic for Turtle to just enchant a knife to go kill Scarlet or something like that, but that's also boring, so I try to tread the line between overpowered characters leaving us with a lame story and actual believable fighting. When I was on about page 7 of this script, like for the first video, and I was only just finishing the rainforest section, I was like, these used to be easier to write. It didn't used to take me entire days to write what-ifs. And then I was like, oh, duh, they didn't used to be so dang long. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, I'm glad. This was by far the longest what-if story I've come up with. These things are so hard to write. Nothing makes me think I'm ADD like writing these videos, because the level of distraction is unreal. But I'm really proud of the finished product this time, and I hope everyone enjoys it as much as I do. I put a lot of work into both the story and the art. One final note before I go. As anyone who's been around the channel for a while knows, it's my tradition to take the month of January off from YouTube and YouTube-related stuff. Christmas is a big push for me, and having a 4-week break is great for me to reset, relax, and keep myself from becoming a total workaholic. I do want to say again how grateful I am to everyone who supported me this month by ordering mystery boxes, buying merch from my store or Redbubble, or even watching these videos and commenting and hanging out on streams and stuff. Y'all make stuff like this possible, and I really appreciate all the support and sweet emails and things like that. All that to say, this is my last video for the next month or so, but I'll be spending that time letting my creative brain rest, hanging out with family and friends, and planning 2026. So I will miss you guys, and I'll see you on February the 1st.